So we'll start like how we do with every class, working on just checking in with our feet. Not doing any weight shifting. Do you feel like you're shifted over to the right, over to the left? Are you more forward? Are you more backwards? This week I was talking to someone who felt like they were really shifted over towards their more affected side. And that they were finding this exercise really helpful. It builds awareness that, that side that's more impacted by Parkinson's may just lead to a little bit more of a shift. And so it's really important for us to get our body just checked in with how we're standing. And from here, let's work on a big weight shift over. And you can even lift your toe up if that feels comfortable. And then weight shift over. As you're doing this, I want you to try to keep your trunk up tall. So try not to drop that shoulder as you're going. Thinking about, I often talk about that string pulling you up. So think about that string pulling you up as you're weight shifting side to side. Moving through your feet. As you're moving, you're rolling through your foot and then rolling up through your foot. Let's do one more on each side. And now let's work on coming forward and back. So we'll start big and we'll fine tune. So this will be coming up onto our toes, rocking back onto our heels, toes and heels. Again, working on trying to stay as tall as you can. And as you're doing this, if you can, rolling through your feet. And let's do one more. Up and then down. Okay. And now we're going to tighten it up. So now we're just going to come as far forward as you can, but your heel is just starting to lift up and then coming back where your toes are just starting to lift up. So coming forward and back. 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 Let's do one more. Forward and back. Okay, and let's try to find center. So just check in and try to get weight even between both legs, and also try to get weight even between the front and the back of your foot. Checking in with your feet. Hopefully you feel like your arch is lifted slightly. You're not rounding or flattening your foot. So with the foot, I always think about how there's 4 points of contact with the ground. You have 2 at the ball of your foot and then 2 at the heel. And we want to try to keep those 4 points when you're standing in contact. All right. And then next, I want us just to close your eyes. If this feels uncomfortable, you can always have a chair right here. Closing your eyes can help increase that focus into where are you actually in your foot. Are you more to the right or the left, forward or back? So for me, as soon as I closed my eyes, I felt myself drift to the right and back. And so now I'm working on coming back to center. We rely so much on vision as we're up and we're moving that when we take vision away, whether that's closing our eyes or when you're getting up in the middle of the night, say to go to the bathroom, how your balance is really can change. And let's do eyes open. If you have a tennis ball, let's warm up our foot. And we're just going to roll it along the arch of your foot. So just thinking about just going from the heel to your first toe. So there's a lot of connective tissue in the arch of your foot. And oftentimes, because we're not moving or using our muscles as much as we could be, that can get really tight. And let's now try to go to the second toe. And to the third toe. And to the fourth. And all the way to the fifth. And let's work our way back. And now let's try to do a couple circles. So rolling that ball in a clockwise fashion. And now let's do counterclockwise. Good. So hopefully this feels pretty good. Let's switch sides. So again, starting from your heel and going to your big toe. Really just trying to wake up your foot, get all of that connective tissue moving. And you may find a spot that feels sore, so that connective tissue can really tighten up like a muscle knot. And so it may be helpful just to work in that area to try to get it to loosen up. And from here, let's go to the second toe and to the third. And to the fourth. And to the fifth. And then let's head back to the first toe. Okay, let's grab our tennis ball. We'll set it off to the side. Hopefully your feet are feeling warmed up. Again, we're going to work on finding center. And here we're going to do our toe wave. So we're going to keep those 4 points of our foot on the ground, and we're going to just lift our toes up and back down. I'm going to come a little bit closer so you can see. So it's lifting just your toes and back down. Lift and back down. Lift and back down. And you can do this with 1 foot at a time or both feet, whatever feels comfortable to you. You can alternate, but it's so helpful for us to be able to move our toes in isolation from the rest of our foot and our ankle and our leg. And then let's come back to center. Again, find our center. And we're going to work on doing some weight shifting. So thinking about the phase of a clock, coming to 12 o'clock, going to 3 o'clock, going to 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 12 o'clock. Do a couple circles going clockwise, and then a couple going counterclockwise. And so as you're doing this, really thinking that this is coming from your feet and ankles, not your hips. We'll do hula hoop hips in a little bit. But that you're moving through your feet, you're engaging your toes, you're engaging your ankle muscles. Let's do one more in this direction. And now let's switch. So we're going to go counterclockwise. Good, let's do one more. And come back to center. We're going to try something new today. So the way I like to structure classes, we're working from our feet up, almost like a tree. We're going to try a way to stretch our hamstrings. So you can use a chair. You can either hold on to the top of the chair or the seat. And we're going to work on bending your knees slightly and then straightening. As you straighten, we're going to try to stretch out our knees a little bit more. So this is an active way of stretching our hamstrings. So you're going to do a tiny squat and then straighten. Tiny squat and straighten. Tiny squat and straighten. And we'll keep going. So it's just a little unbend of your knees. And then as you're straightening, you're trying to get your knee as straight as you can, but not painful. So often our hamstrings will get tight, and that can really throw off how all of the other muscles in our legs are working. So hopefully you're noticing as you're doing this that you're maybe going a little bit further, or your knee is straightening a little bit more. Let's do 3 more. Good, and come back to stand. And from here, let's come into a lunge stretch. So we get to stretch our calf. We're opening up our hip. We'll just first get in position here. You can use a wall for support, your chair for support, really working on standing tall. You can have hands on your hips. You can have arms out, arms up, whatever feels most comfortable to you. So we're in position, toes are pointing forward. And from here, we can do some active stretching for our back leg where you lean forward and then come up. Lean forward and come up. Lean forward and come up. So our back leg is getting some nice stretching. Our front leg is getting some nice balance work. It's a 2 for 1. And we're working on standing tall as we do this. Good, let's do 2 more. And then come back up, float your arms down, come back to center. Again, work on getting grounded, and then we'll switch sides. So stepping your opposite forward, checking in with your back foot. So there's going to be a tendency that it wants to go out to the side. For this exercise, I'd like it to be pointing forward. And then if this feels comfortable, you're going to just come into a lunge. Arms can be here, they can be here, on your hips, holding onto a chair. Lots of options here. And so we're first just working on stretching that back leg, checking in with our front leg. So hopefully your toes don't feel like they're curling in and holding onto the floor for dear life. And from here, let's work on our just forward lunge and then come back up. Forward lunge and up. Forward lunge and up. Lunge and up. So again, you're getting a nice stretch through this back leg, opening up your hip. And then your front leg is having to do some balance work. Let's do 2 more. And float your arms down, come back to center, find center. So what we're going to do next is you're doing some lunging, but in the face of a clock. So hands on your hips, and we'll lunge forward to 12 o'clock, bring it in to 1 o'clock, and in 2 o'clock, and in 3 o'clock, in 4 o'clock, in 5 o'clock, in 6 o'clock, in, switch feet, 7 o'clock, in 8 o'clock, in 9 o'clock, in 10 o'clock, in 11 o'clock, in 12 o'clock, and in. Now let's go counterclockwise. 12 o'clock, in 11, in 10, and in 9, and in 8, and in 7, and in 6, and in, switch feet, 5, and in 4, and in 3, and in 2, and in 1, and in. Those looked beautiful. All right, so now we're going to do that again, but we're going to pick up the speed. All right, let's go. So 12, and in, 1, and in, 2, and in, 3, and in, 4, and in, 5, and in, 6, and in, switch feet, 7, and in, 8, and in, 9, and in, 10, and in, 11, and in, 12, and in, counterclockwise, 12, and in, 11, and in, 10, and in, 9, and in, 8, and in, 7, and in, 6, and in, switch feet, 5, and in, 4, and in, 3, and in, 2, and in, 1, and in. All right, so getting grounded again. Now I'm just going to call out a number. So we're going to do some random lunges. So 2, and in, 6, and in, 10, and in, 4, and in, 11, and in, 6, and in, 9, and in, 3, and in, 1, and in, 7, and in, 8, and in, 3, and in, 10, and in, 6, and in, 5, and in, 9, and in, 7, and in. Let's do 5 more. 4, and in, 10, and in, 5, and in, 9 and in, 4 and in. Beautiful job, everyone. So we're getting grounded again. The next thing we're going to do is move up to our hips. You may need a chair for balance for this. So we're tweaking what we usually do. So usually we'll do hip circles. Today we're going to spice it up. So we're going to come into our forward leg, trying to point our toe, and we're going to do 10 big bounces here. Okay. And then we're going to move out to the side, really trying to engage our tush and bounce. So as you're bouncing, it's almost like your toe is going to touch the floor, and then bounces right back up and then back. So squeezing our tush. Okay. So we're going to do 3 rounds of this on our right leg, and then we'll switch to our left. So standing tall, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switch to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Squeeze your tush, go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bring it forward. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Squeeze it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bring it forward. Got one more round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's get centered. You may want to shake out your hips a little bit. Your glutes, hopefully we're working on that. So we're going to do the other side now. So bringing your leg forward, pointing your toe, thinking about your foot being like a bouncing ball. And we're going to do 10 in each direction, 3 cycles. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And back, squeeze your tush. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's cycle 1. Let's do it again. Come forward. Point your toe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And out to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bring it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's do one more. Bring it forward and go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And back. Squeeze your tush. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come back to center. You can bring your hands to your hips, and we're going to do some hip circles. So really stretching out our hip muscles, trying to make our circle as big as you can. So this is not only great, for our tush, helps get our low back stretched out. You can get the fronts of your hips stretched out. And then you're also working on moving through your feet. And let's switch directions. Let's do one more. And come back to center. All right, from here, let's work on just moving our pelvis. So we're going to do our pelvic tilt. So having just a soft bent knee, so not locked out, but not in a squat. So you're going to tuck under, and I always think about a peacock. So we're tucking our tail feathers under, and then we're sticking our tail feathers out. Tucking our tail feathers, sticking our tail feathers out. Tuck and out. Tuck and out. Tuck and out. Tuck and out. Hopefully, as you're doing this, you're keeping those 4 points of your foot in contact with the ground. Let's do 2 more. And 1 more. And from here, let's do a figure 8 with our hips. So we're going to swoop around and around and around and around. So trying to have each of those circles or ovals of your 8 be even. So you don't want to have a huge, part of your 8 and then a tiny top. So you want it to be even. And let's go the opposite direction. All right, and come back to center. We're going to try something new today. So we're going to come into a lunge, but for this, your back leg is going to be pointing out to this side. Your front leg is going to be going forward. Arms are going to be forward. You can use a chair for balance. We're going to lean forward and then come up. So it's like our forward lunge. Just we're more to the side now. And our back leg is pointing out to the side. Let's just do 2 more here. And from here, we're going to come into that forward lunge and then side bend away, come back, and come up. Forward lunge, side bend away, really lengthening through this side, come back up and up. Down, side bend away, pull it up, and stand tall. Let's do 2 more. Lunge, side bend, lunge, and tall. 1 more. Lunge, side bend, lunge, stand tall. So we're going to do the same thing, just now with the opposite foot. So what that's going to look like is your front foot is pointing forward, back foot pointing to the side. If this feels comfortable, arms out. You can hold onto the wall, a chair. And we're going to work on just coming forward, lunging forward and back up. Lunge and back up. Lunge and back up. You can look straight ahead. For added challenge, look where you're lunging to. Let's do 1 more and then we're going to add on that side bend. Okay, so adding the side bend, you're going to lunge forward. We're going to tilt away. Really lengthening through here. Bring it back and up. Lunge, bend, back, stand tall. Lunge, bend, lunge, stand tall. Lunge, bend, lunge, stand tall. Let's do 2 more. Lunge, bend, lunge, stand tall. 1 more. Lunge, bend, lunge, stand tall. So from here, what I'm going to have us do is you're going to bring your feet so they're a little beyond hip distance. Toes are pointing forward. And we're going to work on something called triangle. So you're going to bring your arm up, your side bending over. And let's just do 2 breaths here, really lengthening through this lower part of your hip and back. And then come back up. Let's do the other side. So, and I'm reaching for the sky. And come back up. And again. And come back up. And back up. Let's do 1 more on each side. And back up. 1 more. And back up. And come back to center. Find your center. Next, if you have a cushion, we're going to work on our balance standing on a squishy surface. So a cushion, a pillow. And so just as you're standing on this more squishy surface, feel where is your weight? Does it shift more to your heels, more to the front part of your foot, or are you able to stay fairly center? And from here, if you have a chair, we're going to work on just closing your eyes. So hopefully you're able to stay in that grounded position even with your eyes closed. But the squishy surface can muddy that information that's coming from your feet. And so it's helpful for us to practice with eyes open and eyes closed. Let's open our eyes. And let's try just doing some marches. And you can hold on to a chair if you need to for balance. And feel how your standing foot may have a little bit more wiggle to it. It's working a little bit harder to keep you standing up tall and centered. If you can, let's add in a little bit slower of motion. So especially as you're putting your foot down, imagine there's an egg underneath that foot. You don't want to have scrambled eggs. Good, let's do one more on each side. Okay, and then let's step back. And we're going to work on our weight shifting, but with one foot on your foam or cushion, and then you're going to weight shift off. Weight shift on, almost like you're going to step up onto some squishy grass and off. Step up and off. Up and off. Up and off. Up, off, up, off, up, off, up, off, up, off. Let's do two more and then we'll switch sides. Up, off, one more. Up and off. Let's switch legs. So one foot's on your pillow or your cushion and you just are working on stepping up, weight shifting over, and then back. Weight shift up and back. So we're really working on that standing leg to be able to keep you stable as you're shifting your weight over. If you can, you're working on standing tall. Try not to lean towards that standing side. Good, let's do two more. All right, and you can pick up your cushion or your pillow. And let's come in to one foot in front of the other, tandem stance, so standing tall. You can have your feet so that they're touching. They can be further apart. One of the keys is I want you to really work on pulling up through your trunk, standing tall, engaging your core. For an added challenge here, you can work on reaching forward and we're twisting our trunk and then back. You may need to separate your feet a bit just because that can give a little bit of stress to the knees. And then to add in more challenge, you're really opening up through your chest. You're looking where you're turning. Okay, now let's switch our feet. So the opposite foot is going to be our forward foot. Again, just getting yourself standing tall, engaging your core. And then if this feels like you can add in another challenge, you can add in the arm with a twist. Let's do one more on each side. Float your arms down. come back to center. Okay, and we're going to finish standing on one leg. You can have your foot down here. We're going to try something new. You could have your ankle crossed just above your knee, or you could be in more of a traditional tree pose. As you're standing here, really working on engaging your glutes on your standing side, standing up tall, picturing that string pulling you up. And float your leg down. Let's try the other leg. So again, foot could be here, you can cross, or it can be up here. And you may find that one leg gets harder to balance than the other. And that's okay. It may be different from day to day. And that's okay. Let's float our leg down. We're going to grab our tennis ball. We're going to do a couple exercises just working on coordination with our tennis ball. So getting yourself grounded, middle part of your feet. And we're going to work on dropping and catching. So as you're doing this, I want you to try to focus in on what's going on at your legs. So my hope is that you're not locking your knees out and shifting your hips way back, that you're keeping a soft knee, you're standing tall. Also that your toes aren't, holding in onto the floor. Okay, and let's change it up a little. So now we're going to juggle a little. Okay, so again, as you're tossing the ball up and catching it, you're keeping your legs engaged but not locked. The reason why I'm having us work on this is because so often when we add in a second task, like catching a tennis ball, we lock out our legs or we pull in whatever stability strategy we have. And we just spent the last 45 minutes working on really getting our brain talking to our legs, to our hips. But I want us to use that. We look like we're ready for the circus. All right, one more. Okay, let's grab our chair. And what I'm going to have you do here is bring your leg up. If this feels comfortable, if this is not comfortable, you can always use a stool. And then just dropping your knee down, really opening up your hip. If this feels like a good stretch, you're perfect there. You can always lean forward to open up the hip a little bit more. And while you're here, we're going to work on just stretching the top part of our foot, opening up our ankle. So just giving a nice pull to the toes. And you can even move the foot towards your pinky toe and then your big toe, just to get some nice side to side movement. Our foot usually doesn't get this kind of attention, so it's nice to stretch it out. And then from here, we'll grab onto our toes and lift up to give a nice stretch to our arch. And then let's drop our leg down. Just rest your heel on the floor, toes up, and we can lean forward to get a nice stretch in our calf and maybe in our hamstring. And roll it up. Let's bring our other foot up to help open up that hip. If this feels comfortable here, this is where you are. You can always lean forward to get more of a stretch. And then you can, if it feels comfortable, give a pull to your toes to help open up the top part of your foot. You can move your foot side to side. We want to be really kind to our feet because they just worked really hard. And from here, you can pull up to get a stretch in your arch. And let's drop our leg down, plant our heel, and then leaning forward just to get a stretch in your hamstring and in your calf. And bring it up. Okay. And you all did such a wonderful job today. Woo!